I just want people to be able to know that they've put something in place so that when they pass, well, when they're living, there are documents that their family has. And when they pass, they've done something so that their family doesn't have to do more than grieve, and then take care of some logistical details, but nothing draining, difficult, or whatever. And I know you have questions, Steve, but I just want to go into that. I have a friend whose mother died, who became a client about 2 years ago. She died about a week ago, I guess. And as best as I remember, well, I know I did everything I could to be sure that everything was in place. Her older daughter called me this morning wanting to know what she needed to do now that mom has passed. And I said, if your mom did what we talked about, there is nothing for you to do except grieve. Just go get copies of death certificates, let everybody know that she's passed, but there should be nothing that demands you going to court. And the idea of doing estate planning, which is not a probate-friendly state, Florida is not, is that you have everything in place so that when somebody you love dies, that all you need is death certificates, and you send them to people and they disperse money or whatever, or they don't dun you for bills. And it's really great. It's just really a great feeling. And I think this woman, well, I think she had everything in place. And I'm hoping so. Her daughter had questions like, what about medical bills? What about this? What about that? I said, the estate is responsible for those things, but you are not personally. In my world, as a matter of integrity, if you can pay them, they get paid. It's not a personal responsibility. So for you, Steve, I'm assuming you and Sophia are each other's beneficiaries or whatever. And if she passes and you're not a co-owner on her account, or you're not a co-signer on like a credit card or something, you don't have any responsibility for debt from a legal standpoint. And people don't know that, and they pay all these bills they didn't have to pay legally. Like I said, in good conscience, I think if somebody has a debt and it's possible to pay it, you pay it. From a legal standpoint, there's no legal obligation. And that's part of what my goal is in educating people, is just know that right now somebody's died, your job is to grieve. Just grieve. Anything else, clean or messy, can be taken care of later. Nothing's going away. If you owe money, you'll still owe it in 6 months. If the bank has money for you, they'll still have it in 6 months. If you have to sell a house, it'll still be there in 6 months. Nothing, big thing, notify any utility you can notify so they stop sending you bills. But other than that, just go grieve. And people get really freaked. And I can understand it, because now what do? So it's nice to be, this woman who called this morning, it was just nice to be able to reassure her, just, you're fine. If everything you say is so that mom did, go arrange a funeral, whatever, and then just go cry. Anyway.
Debbie, I think you are so good at what you do because you have such a heart for others. And I have found that in our conversations. And I've been doing this for 12 years. It's not all just about what you've learned, but you got to have, especially in estate planning, because I'm sorry to say I think about you when I hear or read about somebody who's passed away, who was in great condition, who was in their 30s or 40s or 50s. And I don't think they thought they would be passing away at this early of age. I have my thoughts on why this is happening. I'm not going to go into it, but people need to plan early. And I'm going to tell you something. You could not choose a better estate planning attorney than Attorney Baker. So I'm so blessed that we have you. I know that we started off talking last time and we got slashed by the holidays. By the way, Happy New Year to you.
Thanks.
And we were talking about inventorying your stuff,
Oh, inventory stuff. Yeah.
tangible and intangible.
Yeah.
You know, and that
yeah.
you need to start doing an accounting for your family needs. And you can't do it too soon, can you, Debbie?
No, you can't do it too soon. It's the tangible stuff. Steve, you can see a good bit of my office. I took some stuff off the desktop because I thought, oh, he's going to send me dead. Move those files. My daughter will come in here after I pass and go, what did she want me to do with all these things? And then she'll look at all the pictures. The ones she recognizes, she might pass along to the people in them. The rest of it, I collect cats. You can't see that here, not live cats, but cats. So my brother gave me a sign that says, no, you can't have too many. Yes, I need all these cats is what the sign says. So she'll count up all the cats, and then she'll probably take them to a thrift store or something like that. And I've said this before, even Rebel might be a little bit young for this, but people in their 30s even, if you've got something you want somebody to have and you can bear to part with it, give it to them now. Let them enjoy it now, because like you said, Steve, we have no idea when our time is up, whether it's natural causes, people with defective hearts that they never knew they had, the athletes who have their hearts blow up on them in practice, just they had no idea they were in danger, or whatever. And then I can really enjoy whatever it is while you're living. And then after you pass, I have a different sense of its appreciation. It's poignant, but it's not the same. It's not as deep. So tangible, the intangible is all that money, whether I've gotten new clients recently who have quite a bit in cryptocurrency, or they've got gold coins, not necessarily bullion, or they've got sterling silver coins, which pure silver has not been made into coins for quite a while. People need to know where they are, and ideally you have some idea of what it's valued at, so that if somebody comes along and has to sell it, they might get a new appraisal, but they have a starting point. And will say to me, well, my family will take care of it when I'm gone. And well, yeah, I'm not going to talk you into doing anything about it, but why would you want to put your family through any additional hardship when you're gone? And some people there'll be plenty of money. They can hire somebody. It's like, okay. Prepaying for funerals. People say, well, I don't want to do it because I don't know where I'll be. I went, well, if you want to be cremated, you can buy a plan that will pick you up anywhere and transport you anywhere as part of whatever you pay. If you want to be buried, okay, but if you're not going to pay for it, then put money aside literally, like in a separate account that says funeral expenses. Put $10,000 or $20,000 in there, because that's what the average funeral will cost, and earmark it particularly with a beneficiary, so that's what it's for. Don't have your children put things on their credit cards waiting to get paid back. So those are the intangibles that people don't think of. In fairness to them, they don't think about it because it's in their mind what they want to have done, but they haven't told their family, and their family doesn't know. I'm not sure that answers the question, but it's really important. It's really important to inventory all that stuff.
We get a lot of people who want to know more about Revocable Living Trust. And it's like, we offer the show in other cities, and it's the same way in other markets with our estate planning attorneys there, that Revocable Trust is what's on a lot of people's minds. And can you explain that to people?
Yeah. People will call and tell me I need a trust. And then when we talk, great example, met with a couple last Friday. I thought we were meeting for 45 minutes because they said they had everything in order. So they've moved from Minnesota and then have permanent Florida residence. And they set up a trust in Minnesota. which is fine, totally valid in Florida. That's not a problem. The trust was never funded, meaning to the best of their knowledge, no, that's not fair. It was funded, but they didn't realize it was funded, or they think it was funded. So they had 3 pieces of property. They had a home they lived in, they had a condo, and they had a timeshare. They were all listed in the trust. However, they have no idea what the titles say.
Ooh.
They sold the home, so it's moot. But I said, if these other properties are not titled in the name of the trust, you effectively have a trust that's of no value to you. But people say, do I need a trust? I said, it really depends. I love that answer. I think the second week in civil procedure, the professor said, a very, very valid answer for an attorney to give a client is, it depends. So let's just say you and Sophia own a home, and you've done it such that your deed is such that it says who owns the home after the second of you dies. But whoever, it could be anybody, okay? Well, then your home is safe from probate, doesn't need to be in a trust. Okay? If all of your bank accounts, retirement accounts, all your accounts are beneficiary designated to your nieces, nephews, children, whatever, charities, whatever, don't need a trust. Okay. If you have minor children, I recommend a trust because children cannot inherit till they're 18 years old. And most of us would not trust an 18-year-old with $50, much less $50,000, if there's money. So you need a trust for that. That's why it depends. It just depends. If you have a special needs child who you know is special needs, a child who's already on Medicaid because of disabilities, you need a trust because they can't inherit money or they lose all their government benefits. You need a trust. The thing is, the revocable part, which people get confused about, is it just means that until you as an individual pass or the second of the founders of the trust pass, you can do anything you want with that trust. So using the example I used about the house and the condo and the timeshare, let's just say all 3 of those were titled in the name of the trust. As long as that trust is revocable, they can sell all of those properties. They don't need anybody's permission. They don't need any special thing because they're still theirs. They are the owners. The trust only gets them after they pass. So that's revocable trusts. And most people, I'm finding, probably 50% of the people I talk to who think they need one, they can get by without them. I have one guy who's going to do a trust. Why is he going to do a trust? Oh, because he's got a child he's a grown man, but who might wind up in a situation where he's on government benefits. He won't be able to inherit his share of the trust when his father passes. He may not be able to inherit his share of the trust when his father passes. So we're doing a trust with that wrinkle, that extra step included as a contingency, not a definite, but if somebody needed a vehicle to manage this person's money, his father would have put it in place in advance. It's a complex question, but anyway.
Does the revocable trust keep you out of the probate courts?
Depending upon it, it depends. It depends. It doesn't. While it's revocable, it doesn't protect you from creditors.
Okay.
Okay. Once it becomes irrevocable, if everything is flowing through, so you and Sophia have a trust, and you have a trust for whatever reason. You want the church to get your money, whatever, you want money, right? Once it becomes irrevocable, those funds, so you have a ABC bank account with $100,000 in it, and the beneficiary of that account is the trust. So when the second of you passes, that money goes to the trust. Once it gets to the trust, it gets distributed the way you want. Whoever in charge will distribute it to the charity. Okay. But while it's revocable, you are not protected from creditors. It's not protected from the IRS or anything like that, as long as it's revocable.
There's so much that needs to be done that it's just amazing. I mean, whether it's a trust or a will or even directions if you're in the hospital. There's just so many things that it's so important that people sit down with you, and because they have no idea what is involved, whereas you have this all in your head.
Well,
And just a simple thing like a will, it still shocks me, Debbie, that there's so many people who haven't even put their will together yet.
well, people don't think they'll die. People don't think they'll have anything. People think they'll die as soon as they do it. Um, and the thing is, we probably said this before, the thing I learned, like just in the last year or two, one of the biggest motivators can be for will is in the event somebody dies and they are in line to be the recipient of a medical malpractice suit or like a bad car accident or something like that. If they have a will in place, they've set up in advance a vehicle to collect any funds that may be due their estate in advance. And I mean, not that they're anticipating that, but it's there. 18-year-olds need them for the same reason, because their parents can't do it for them anymore. And I've got a friend who's got a 19-year-old granddaughter, and I said she needs her own documents. And I don't. My friend's been the intermediary between the mother and me, and the mother doesn't seem to understand that anything she's got in place where she's named the daughter to do something for her does not replace her daughter naming her to do something for her. Like you say, she's 19 years old, she's not married. If something happens to her, her mother really can't help her anymore. And those are the advanced health directives that you talked about earlier. And there's no reason people should know. And that's what I tell people all the time. There's no reason for you to know this. I didn't know it 9 years ago. There's no reason for you to know it. That's why people like me exist. People should not do online. We've talked about this. I'm not a proponent of online documents because you don't know that they're state compliant, whether it's Florida or Mississippi or, Alabama or Georgia, or wherever. You don't know that they're right. And then you run the risk of having somebody stuck holding an ugly bag that you had thought you had done something about because you weren't willing to spend the money. Or your friends told you that it was a good idea. And we all listen to friends about things. And I've come to believe, don't listen to your friends about a legal issue unless the friends are legal, unless they're attorneys, not even paralegals, unless they're attorneys. Get a different, and you always want to find somebody you can work with that you trust. Don't choose the first person. Just because, 3 people refer me and just to a fourth, and the fourth calls and has the courage to tell those 3 that they didn't like me, then find another one. You want to work with somebody you can trust to get the job done for you. And no attorney out there is the perfect person for everybody.
Debbie, I can't believe I'm looking and taking.
You ran out of time already, Steve. Come on.
Can you believe that? I mean, amazing. But your show always goes by so fast. Give everybody your phone number.
I can be reached at 813-586-1332. 813-586-1332. I'll talk to anybody. I mean, I can practice only in the state of Florida, but if somebody calls me from another state, if you have a friend who has a question, I'm happy to ask their question with the caveat that they need to check in their state. And there are some general guidelines that I can just give people for questions to ask and things to think about. And since this is all a God-driven practice, it's all about being of service.